You'll hear me play in a second. I just wanted to say this is for you if you find hammer-ons and pull-offs sound nice. If fingerpicking sounds nice to you, you've even tried all that before but not 100% successfully, it doesn't really sound like you want it to, and you don't know what to do. There are two things in here. I'll show you exactly how to execute hammer-ons and pull-offs with all the tips that I have from 17 years of teaching guitar. We'll practice both holding down a C major chord, because when you fingerpick, that's what you do. You hold down a chord, or at least a few fingers that you need to keep on the fretboard. And then secondly, I wrote a piece of music dedicated to the topic, fingerpicking, hammer-ons, pull-offs, and it sounds like so. The cool thing about that piece of music I find is not only will you practice fingerpicking, hammer-ons, pull-offs, but you will instantly make music. It's not a boring exercise we're talking about here. Plus you will then have a nice piece of music in your repertoire so that you can say, hey, and then fill in the blank with the name of your partner. Doesn't that sound nice? And then you play it and they say, wow, that sounds amazing. Where did you learn that? When did you learn that? And who's your teacher? By the way, my name is Florian. I've been teaching guitar since 2007 and I help beginners to get to intermediate through inspiration-sparking lessons like this one here, and you can find out more on highguitar.com. Now let's start with hammer-ons. They're a bit easier. And so the exercise goes like this. You hold down a regular C major chord. And we want to hear all the strings except the low E string. We don't need this one. Really make sure that you hear all the strings. And therefore you would need to arch your fingers like that so that you get around these strings. And therefore you would need to keep your fingernails short on the left hand side, because otherwise they push your fingertips away and they would flatten your fingers. That would lead to blocking a few strings. Now we really want to hear all the strings, and then we start with the left hand side middle finger. You lift the middle finger, and then you play the D string, the one where the middle finger was, and then you hit the string sharply on the second fret. That's a hammer-on right there. If you can't seem to get the D string to ring, make some space with your ring finger here. Arch it around the D string. And once you've done the hammer-on, you really want to make sure that you don't press into the fretboard just as much to keep the string down, just as much as you would normally do. Because otherwise it won't sound good, it won't be efficient. And now there are really just two versions, two rhythms when it comes to hammer-ons and pull-offs. There's a slow one and there's a fast one. The slow one is this. You really hear these two notes separated. Right, left, right hand side, left hand side. And there's a quick one. Almost as if you forgot to place your finger on the fretboard and you quickly want to mend that. Right, left, and we need both rhythms here. Now let's do the same with the index finger, still holding down a C major. Now lift the index and then play the B string. And we want to do the slow rhythm first. And make sure that you don't apply more pressure than you would normally do. Just hit the string sharply, that's it. And then the quick rhythm. And then we do the same with the ring finger. So lift the ring finger, the rest remains on the fretboard, then play the A string. We want to hear these two notes. That's the slow rhythm, and let's do the quick one. Wow, that's a lot. Arch your fingers around the strings, keep your fingernails short because you want to hear all the strings. Then hit the string sharply when you do the hammer-on, but don't press any more than you would normally do. But all this is important. The reason why you probably haven't been successful in the past is because no one told you or you haven't put in enough time and effort, or both. But now you have everything to get hammer-ons right. Now let's see how to play pull-offs. Let's do the same exercise holding down a C major, but with pull-offs. And before you start, make sure that you hear all the strings except the low E string. We don't need this one. And then we start with the middle finger. This is the D string. Middle finger's on the fretboard. You play the D string. Then you pull at the string a little with your middle finger. And then you release it. You let it roll off your fingertip. That's a pull-off right there. So you hear the note go up slightly in pitch just before you release it. Don't just go straight away from the fretboard because that doesn't give you much sound, right? We want to hear both notes clearly and loud. And that's the slow rhythm here. Let's do the fast one. Almost as if you forgot to take your finger away and you quickly want to mend this. Now let's do the same thing with the index finger. C major is in place, index finger's on the fretboard, then you play the B string, you pull at the string, and then you release it, you let it roll off your fingertip. And so that you don't play the high E string accidentally, you stop at the high E string here with your index finger. That's the slow rhythm. Let's do the fast one. Right, left. Alright, and now let's do the same thing with the ring finger. Everything is in place. Play the A string. You pull at the string a little, and then you let it roll off your fingertip. It's the slow rhythm. And here's the fast one. Now I told you hammer-ons are easier, but this is really the worst it'll get because you will never do so many pull-offs one after the other as when you practice it. Now let's make music. Do you remember the piece that I demonstrated in the beginning? Let me teach you through it. Here bars 1 to 4. I call this piece of music Will You Be Back, and you can download the tabs for free. The link is down below. It starts on a C major chord. That's why we practice it like that. And the middle finger is in the air here on the left hand side. Actually you wouldn't need the index finger, but I find it easier to just hold it down as I'm used to. And on the right hand side I play with thumb and index and middle. And that's a quick hammer on here. That's the quick rhythm. And then it's a slow rhythm, pull off. Because you hear these 3 notes separated. Be-do-do. Let's see what happens next. This is bars 5 to 8, and we switch to an F over C here. And I'll bring in the ring finger on the right hand side. And you can really well hear the difference between the quick and the slow rhythm. So really make sure that you get the rhythm right. This is the quick one. This is the slow one. And then bars 7 to 8, we're back to what we did in the beginning. Nothing new here. And then let's see what happens in bars 9 to 12. And by the way, these are really classic chords that you will find in most songs that are in the same key, in the key of C. So we have a C major, we have an F, we have a G, we have an A minor in here. So let's go to that G here now for bar 9. It's a slow pull off here. Then F over C again. A quick hammer on. And then back to what we did in the beginning. It's the main theme, but we continue differently. Which brings us to the next chord, to an A minor. Now let's bring it home. Last bar is 13 to 16. It's an A minor here. It's an F over A. With the slow pull off with the pinky. Let me do it again. Then an E over A, lovely chord. And a G7, bringing you back to the beginning, and then you're back in the loop that you can hardly escape. Wow, we covered a lot here. You learned exactly how to play hammer-ons. You learned exactly how to play pull-offs while holding down a chord, while finger picking. And I told you about the two main rhythms there are, the slow and the quick one. I mean, we could have gone a bit more into detail on these two rhythms, but I think for now you're better off just imitating it. And then I gave you an application so that you can instantly make music with all these lovely things, and that you have something nice in your repertoire that you can then play for someone else. Now enjoy practicing, and I'll see you on the next lesson.